Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to ask all my participants to please turn on their videos. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Choreographers and Cocktails, or Cocktails and Choreographers. I hope everybody brought their cocktails. I'm Eduardo Vilaro, the Artistic Director and CEO of Ballet Hispánico, and I want to welcome you to this chat. I am so excited because I have some of my colleagues, friends, and just amazing artists that worked with putting this work together. So what I'll do is I'll just ask you to introduce yourself, starting with Justine, and then just come in and say hello and say when you danced with Ballet Hispánico.
So Justine Dicostanzo, and I think we did this in '89, if I'm remembering right. So yes, so back then.
Yeah, I'm Jose Costas, and hello guys, in Ballet Hispánico from 1986, 77, all the way to 94.
So good to see you, Jose, and good to see you, Justine.
You too.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ross-Nash, and I was with Ballet Hispánico from around the end of '82, beginning of '83 until '92.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And
hello, Nancy Turano, 1985 to 1993.
So I want to start off the questions, but first of all, I just can't tell you how excited I am to be here with these colleagues. We spent a lot of time together on stage and in the rehearsal room, and it's just remarkable. So I'm going to start off with talking first about Graciela and this work. I wonder if we can keep our responses. I want to get each of your responses in, so let's be aware of the time. I also want to welcome our studio, I should say our studio audience, our audience online. Shows you how old I am. Our audience online, and please put your questions in and we'll be happy to answer them. So everyone, what was it like working with Graciela for each of you? And maybe Jose, you could start because you're the only guy besides me. You have to unmute.
Yeah, now I got it. So
Okay.
Working with Graciela was amazing for me, and I think for all of us. I think as a director, she was incredible, and just teaching us how to become these characters that were so amazing. And watching just this performance for me was incredible, just to remember all that and who we became through her rehearsals, coaching, from the we were and to what became to on stage. It was incredible. So working for me was an honor, actually, especially being a Latinx woman who was successful at Broadway. So it was incredible.
That's great. Kathy?
Thank you, honey. Working with Graciela was, of course, like Jose said, incredible. One of the most poignant things about Graciela is that she treated all her dancers with respect. In a time where dancers were almost thought as disposable in many ways, Graciela treated each and every one of us as individuals, and I think in turn made us all want to work more deeply and richly for her than a lot of other people that I worked with. She inspired you from the inside. We were a very young company, and somehow or another she was able to transcend us into a different time and a different period that none of us had any idea about. And she did that with cultivating us with respect and inspiring us, which was incredible, an incredible experience.
And then maybe Justine and then Nancy. You're muted again. You can stay unmuted.
Okay, unmuted. Can you hear me now? Good.
Yes.
I agree 100% with Kathy. I mean, she just was so giving to us and allowed us to discover ourselves. And being, like she said, a young, like Kathy said, a young company, we were young kids. And working with her and discovering the nuances of something that was very challenging at the time. I mean, I'm sure you're going to go into it more, but that giving over as a woman or a young lady at the time, we were young girls, to kneel and be servant to a man, that was something that, like, okay, in our time, it was still okay that was, but I think we were learning our sexuality, and she allowed us to explore that. I mean, there's a little duet as well that's kind of sexual, you know, lesbian kind of relationship. And that wasn't something that was told to us. It was something that we discovered in the movement that she gave us, right? That's how we discovered characters. It wasn't like she had to tell us what to do. We were able to explore that and find out for ourselves. I mean, she was so many things about that woman is like, she's a beautiful person. So, and you can see it in the work, obviously.
Yes, and for Nancy, you were the stranger that came in and had the duet, and we're going to go into that. Jose was the first duet that you had, and then Pedro, and Jose and I also had the fight scene, so that we'll get into that. But maybe for you as that person, you know, there was a lot of work that I know that you did with her. You're muted. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did you unmute me? Okay. First of all, just to say, the first question about Graciela is, you know, there are so many important individuals in your life as an artist, but then there are those rare individuals that really are soulful and become huge mentors in your life. And Graciela was by far that for me. And in reference to the role that she gave me, I you know, it just was, I always said to her, like, why did you choose me? And, you know, and I felt really that was such an important role. I think Graciela, what was so important about her was that, you know, she did have that huge background in Buenos Aires as a classical ballet dancer. She threw it all away, came to America, wanted to get involved with Broadway star, but she was also deeply searching human condition and deeply searching her culture. In this particular piece was her gemstone of her entire life. And she most recently, when we had that opportunity to restage that Lifetime Achievement Award last year, she said, out of my whole life, this was the gem of my life. And so, you know, it was a gem. There was a lot of chemistry that happened amongst all of us that were there at the time. I think we all had this chemistry, and we brought her characters to life. So it was an honor.
Great. You know, I love that each of you already have brought up what she brought for us at the time. And so I want to go a little bit deeper, if you can, and I won't choose. Everybody, if someone can start talking whenever you like. But this whole idea of changing you, I know for me, it was quite a big wake up, right? I mean, I was in my 20s, and then someone asked me to do these sexual things on stage, but it wasn't about doing something that was taboo. It was actually about freeing the story, I felt. You know, the reality of where tango came from, what the truth is a truth that might be difficult with the misogynistic strength of the men and, you know, the way women are treated, but it's a truth. And so I think that's, for me, what she always gave me, to being truthful, to not make it a caricature. Anyone want to add?
Yeah, he gave us
You know,
a voice. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Kathy.
So, okay. So what I agree with Eduardo. You know, it allowed me as a young woman to embrace, and even though the piece looks like it's misogynistic, it really, as a woman, allowed me to understand my strength in sexuality and in sensuality, and that it wasn't something that was taboo and it wasn't something that was forbidden or to be seen as something as a negative. You know, our generation was, you know, just coming out of the whole feminist revolution, and to be allowed to completely feel like a woman and be different from the man was actually a huge part that freed myself developmentally, and this ballet nurtured that and freed me.
Anybody else want to add of their personal thoughts about this? I mean, I think that this was also a work that was a little different. We were doing Vicente Nebrada, neoclassical work. This was such a piece of theater. So it was an interesting kind of switch for us. And I wonder if one of you want to talk about that, because it gave, yes, Nancy, it gave us something really rich.
Yeah, I wanted to say, go back to really the origin of how it came to the company. It was very interesting because at some point Tina took myself, and I don't remember if it was you, Jose, or Pedro, and she took us to a off-Broadway show downtown, and she said, I want you to see the show. And it was Tango Apasionado at the time. And, you know, we saw the show, and soon after Graciela came. The Broadway show that this work was based on loosely was 3 works of Jorge Luis Borges, who was an Argentinian writer, to music by Astor Piazzolla. And the 2 brothers it was a story called 2 Brothers, and my part was called The Intruder. It was based on The Intruder. And then there was a 3rd story called The Street Corner Man. And all the entrance of the men coming in and so forth. So she actually based the characters on the writing of Jorge Luis Borges. So I think that she was using, you know, Astor Piazzolla, she was using Borges, who was a well-known Argentinian writer they were already portraying through literature and music, the culture, and then she wanted to bring these stories to life. And I think the important thing about the sexuality of it is, yeah, we had a lot of responses. It was hard to be vulnerable on the stage and maybe be raped in some way. And we had people in the audience we went out afterwards that said, how could you put yourself in a role like this? And you're supporting women abuse. And I had very deep discussions with people in lobby many, many, many times about doing that role. And you know, it made me really reflect why people are responding like that, because some people, you know, I said, you know, you can't really erase what is. You would like to, but all kinds of dominance and submission exist. And Graciela talked a lot about our roles of being dominant and submissive, and how that was a large part of tango and dancing tango.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Borges, because the interesting thing about Borges and his writing is that he was writing truth of the people, right? He was writing stories that were of the common man. And for quite some time, the aristocracy of Argentina was the power. I mean, when you think of Argentina of the past, it's all the gorgeous, the royalty, the sumptuousness, but he was bringing in some reality. And I go back to that point, is that's what Graciela grabbed onto, and which was important. I have a question from someone in the audience. It's someone we know, a stage manager who worked with us, Robert Calvin, for some years. And he says that this piece was 4 years of my life, from Tango Apasionado off Broadway, which you just mentioned, to Cada Noche, to Dangerous Games, yeah, on Broadway, that she did. My honor to stage manage all of those.
Wow.
And the question is, Jose and Eduardo, talk to us about working on The Amazing Fight and working with the fight director. Go ahead, Jose.
All right, I have to say I was super impressed. I haven't seen this piece, I think, since then. And I was so impressed to see everything from the duet with Nancy to our fight, how well that, for me, how really looked. And I want to say, I remember when we started working on this piece, and the fight scene, that it was a choreography, obviously. One of the tricks that I had to do was to pick up a knife with my feet and then toss it to you. And I remember I couldn't even get that at any time. It was like so hard to get that done. It won't fly anywhere. And I was so happy that on stage it did happen, but you know, because it's live, you never know. You never know. And another thing that I remember that for Eduardo, we have, I had to do this, a specific whip thing to Eduardo. And it got too good at a time and it was scary. And sorry, Eduardo, many times I remember this, you were bleeding out of my whips. And I apologize for that, but it was so, it's happened, I know it happened twice. Go ahead, you can talk about that.
We settled that. Don't worry about it. We
did. I remember.
It got real, let's say.
But you know what? It was the moment. I think that piece allows us to do, I mean, to become these other people, right? But we were so into the characters. It was in the moment, things that happened, that for me, watching it now, it was so real. Like, these people are fighting, these people are dancing, these people are loving each other. It's just, it's one of the best pieces that the pieces that I really love, and it made me an actor, it made me an artist doing this process. So.
Yeah, I'll just add that I was so, I was like stunned by this guy who came in, this Broadway act, Luis, right? His name was Luis,
yes,
right?
Luis.
Gorgeous and
Gorgeous.
right? And he
Yes,
came in,
we all
like,
agree.
air out of the room, and I was like, I will do whatever you ask me to right now, right? So let's go, let's do this fight. But he was so instrumental in helping us because of his experience in the Broadway world. I mean, he gave us a sense. I mean, he had been working with her, but I always loved. It was terrifying, that fight. Remember? And you just said it, every time something would happen, the knife would slip. So it was in the making it up, it was in the course correction that we found even more magic. And I think that she and he, Luis, allowed us to do that. We have a question from the audience directed toward Justine, La Preciosa. So this is from Tim. I've been a fan of Justine Dicostanzo's career. I saw her in West Side Story. I saw her play Cada. She was fabulous. Did that help to enlighten your role?
Oh my goodness. I had a wonderful experience because I had a lovely partner in crime who I danced with in the female portion of this piece. And I had inspiration from her. It was, a testing relationship. I'd never experienced dancing with a woman. I mean, that was something that was new to me, and to understand and feel confidence in the power of that connection. And I think also with Graciela, she always gave us that opportunity to discover those things in relationships with different people. And she never put a label on it. She didn't say you had to do this or you had to do that, but she also gave you a very clear idea that the tango, when you came into it, that Argentinian tango was like, you could come in, you could be a married person and you walk into the hall and you're dancing with a stranger, but you could be coming from a very happy relationship or marriage and then come to the dance hall and dance with whoever you want. So that was part of that I thought was very interesting to me, because I didn't understand that. I didn't understand tango before working with Graciela. I always thought it was like, what we always used to see was dun, 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 da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And understanding that tango was very in-depth. It was something that was embedded in their culture, and that it was a regular routine of everyday life. And that wasn't something I understood. So learning that was, amazing. I looked at tango from that on differently,
Thank you so much. I love that you mentioned that, because that was one of the highlights for all of us, I think, is to get into the form of tango and its subtleties. Instead of that apasionado kind of French throw the
Right.
woman down, there were very nuances to it.
Beautiful. I mean, I was crying tonight watching it again.
Oh.
I was crying, Nancy, I was crying because there was so much there. And of course, it was a little dark, the video, so you can't see so many little things. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm crying thinking. So beautiful, Nancy.
I think one of the differences, like, you know, what the Messi, and I love them, gracias. And, you know, I think the thing about Graciela talked a lot about the type of tango that we were doing. And she talked about the origin, like La Boca, the area in Argentina, and that really where tango originated in the brothels. And, you know, it absolutely had nothing to do with when people exiled to Paris and it became the aristocratic form of dance. And she talked with us about all the steps, you know, the sacadas, and then also just rubbing your leg up and down the other person's leg, and how really it was basically a type of foreplay in a sense. She talked about how we held the body, and she made us all scream in the room and then scream in silence, and see how our chest became concave with this inner scream, and how we should hold our partner in this inner scream without screaming, and how we should look over their shoulders because it was a dangerous place where tango took place. There was all these little things she would talk about that brought us to that world. And I think one of the greatest things was to actually be able to go to Argentina and perform this. This was like the highlight, that moment to me, to be able to go to Argentina. And we knew what that meant. You cannot go to Argentina and not have a clue about what real tango is, because they will absolutely, you know, like any culture, you know, you can't make believe. So you really need, and it really put us in a place where we needed to understand the subtlety of the true form of tango coming from Argentina, from a very small area and place. And I think she tried to bring that forward in this work, and that was exciting.
And I just want to put attention to that beautiful trio that you, Jose, and Pedro did, because there was such nuance there also about the freedom to touch whoever, you know, there was that subtlety there that was introduced. So it wasn't, there was some really gender bending going on in many ways of allowing love and passion to move on. Subtle enough for that time. And speaking of that time, another audience member says, the last time I had a smoking part on stage was in 1993. Hallelujah. That's okay? If this piece is reset, what would you do about the props? I just want to say that I don't know if we would reset this piece. It was reset. Tina Ramirez reset it as part of another set of other works called Nightclub, I think. If I reset this piece, I would do it authentically, because that's what Graciela would want. And so there are smokeless cigarettes, so people don't have to smoke. But for us, I don't know about you guys, some of us who were smoking at that time, we were like, oh, great, I get to smoke on stage. Right?
Or how about that time in Naples when we set off the alarm in the theater and we were outside with the fire trucks and all these electric voices came on, please leave the theater, please, right in the middle of
a So here's an interesting question that came up from another person. How do you relate this piece to what is going on right now in 2020? It's a good question. Anyone want to tackle that?
I've been thinking about it a lot, because I thought to myself, like, maybe people not want us to do this piece because it represents something that's not good in culture. Let's erase it. And I don't believe we should erase anything, because it's good, bad, and ugly. It existed, you know what I mean? And it's just a part of history. And I think it's real. It happened. It's period. It's time period. It's important. Still happening.
I agree, Nancy. I agree with you. I think, but I also think that now, with it still exists. It's still in every culture. This sort of relationship still exists, And when you do a piece like Tango, you allow the conversation to happen. Just like people came up to you and spoke to you after and spoke to us afterwards about what we were doing on stage and what the piece, how it made us feel, it opens dialogue. And that's the most amazing thing about this piece, is that I think that if it's performed 50 years from now, it will still open up necessary dialogue.
Do
Yeah.
you remember? Do
Yeah,
you remember?
I
that
agree.
Go ahead,
Do you
Justine.
we would go to different places where we couldn't perform tango. I don't know if you guys kind of remember, like some of the places, some of the
yeah.
towns, we wouldn't do it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Right.
and that was years ago. But I got to tell you, I wonder if, honestly, Eduardo, if you were to take this again, what experience you would have with it, because now we're in this culture of the Me Too, but you've got this very pushback about the Me Too as well. So you've got these two sides. And before, I think when we were performing it, it wasn't so divided. We didn't really understand it. We were kids, dancers in New York City growing up, blah, 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 blah. And now when we're seeing so much of the divide, you know, in terms of our relationships, men and women, and how some people want to have it, that if you were to go to some of these places now, what the reaction would be. I mean, I kind of think it would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Just my thought on it.
I think like Nancy said, it's about building dialogue.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
We could also
I want
go
to
to the library.
go ahead.
Burn them. We could go to the libraries and burn down all the things we don't love. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean it didn't happen. You know what I mean? We could go to the libraries and select what we want. There's censorship, you know, and I feel like, you know, you cannot deny what is and what did exist. And so in reference to this, or like the male, female, I mean, when the woman asked me, especially one woman really accosted me, and she was getting very aggressive. And I said to her, I feel like you're really upset about this. And I said, perhaps that's a good thing, because it struck a chord in you. And perhaps it's important that we put something like this on the stage so people could see this exists. It's not to say we think it's good that a person should be abused like in that scene or anything like that, or they should be aggressive, but we're talking about energy, period. Okay, so energy exists. Like we said, submissive, dominant, it doesn't matter if it's power, money, whatever it is, there's energy fields, and some things make us feel uncomfortable, okay? But they still exist, and everything is about these energies back and forth. Now, this is an Argentinian dance with energy. We can go to many other cultures and see other aspects of masculine, what we consider to be masculine or what we consider to be feminine, which is a huge rainbow. But at the same time, why do we have to say this is good or this is not good? Why should a person say that to be gay is not good? It just exists. You know what I mean? Why are you going to say one's better than the other? Now let's all like this. And so this is just a part of culture and history, and also a reference to the masculine, feminine, or the dominance and submissive. This exists. If it strikes a chord in you, okay, then live your life the way you want to. You know, it's everybody's free, you know? We're artists. We're portraying.
I'm sorry. I'd like to add that definitely the
Culture's
story needs to be
portraying.
told. It's part of our culture. It needs to be told. And Graciela was so good at storytelling and putting it in movement. So it's a great venue to talk about the culture and, like you said, open conversations.
I'm going to give just a little bit of pushback to this conversation, because I think that nothing can happen without some good context. And so if I did do this piece, I would have something else in the rep that offers a difference. I mean, I think that what these movements, these very important movements like Me Too and Black Lives Matters, what they're trying to tell us is that there has been systemic misogynism, there has been systemic, and so the narratives that are on the stage also have to be as diverse. It can't be the same one. I mean, there was a New York Times, or was it a New York Times article, no more rape scenes on stage. You know, you have them all the time. I think with this one, it's a little different. As I watched it today, it wasn't about, or maybe it was about rape if she said that. It was about dominance. It wasn't. It was about dominance at a certain kind. You could tell me. Go ahead.
was based
I
on
don't think it was
intruder.
Nancy, go,
And
Nancy.
she said that this person was coming from a different level of society, and she was entering into this brothel, but she willingly did it. She walked in. She was maybe she had a very comfortable life, and she was going out really looking for excitement. Maybe she was bored. Okay, maybe she wanted to be in this position. Maybe she was looking to see what is it, or what am I missing in my life. So she willingly did that. So now this is another thing. Did he rape her? No, she put herself there, and she was looking for this excitement. So hey.
Yeah, we can get into it, but I'm gonna go to some fun stuff. I almost wanted to play a game and throw cities out and say, tell me something about tango in this city. First city, Billings, Montana.
Go, Nancy.
You mean when the lights went on the stage, just as Jose was getting aggressive with me, and like instead of whipping me, he kind of beat me up. Okay, yeah. Then I had a black eye and I wore glasses in the bus. Do you remember that?
Was not it. Come on, be truthful.
Go ahead.
You guys were walking on stage like a couple, all of a sudden lights are out, and you have to retrieve yourself back again and start over again.
And what about that was Billings was also the trap door. So there's a trap door on stage. And like every time you danced around it, you were wondering if you were gonna fall in the trap door.
Fall through. Yes.
That's true.
Does anyone have another company memory, the fun memory that is about this piece and performing it?
Oh.
I think, yeah, go ahead. I'll let Kath or whatever, who was someone else speak.
I've got
Some memories. I've tons of memories. I mean,
go ahead, Nancy. You start them up.
I said like that time when we lit the cigarettes, and we all ended up outside with the fire truck, and I remember Pedro was taking pictures with the Dalmatian on the fire truck. Like we were all taking pictures outside. We were back in the theater, and I actually have pictures of us in all of our makeup and costumes with the fire truck. We had the firemen, and we were like, take pictures with us. So we couldn't get back into the theater because we blew off the alarms with the smoke. That was a good one. Yeah.
That was. I agree.
I got more.
Go ahead.
Just Justine, you were you original, or did you came into?
No, I was original.
You were.
So
Which
yeah.
one?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So it was Kathy was the woman in green. You were in
Yeah.
Madame.
yellow.
The Madame.
Was the little
Thank you.
side.
No,
And then
no
I
problem.
Kathy. We kind of traded off.
You traded off with Kathy, yes.
Yep. We did a couple of times, but yeah. So it was like,
Oh, I only danced that role. I
yeah.
never danced the other.
No,
No.
you never did.
But I think that was after I left.
Oh, okay.
The woman in
I
green.
don't remember. I kid. It goes back a little ways. I don't remember.
I
Yeah,
just
I only did the woman in
a
green.
little ways.
That chair was my chair back. So I only did. I think that when I left, left the company, that's when you went back and forth between the roles. I will say, I don't know if you guys know this, but when I came back to restage it, and I was in my 40s, Tina had me re-perform that role at 40 years old. And it was really a whole different experience being a woman now who had lived the life. I really understood what I thought I understood when I was, a 20-something-year-old. It was really quite amazing to do that.
So there are a couple there. The audience is humming. I love this. There is how much rehearsal time did you have to develop this piece with the choreographer? Does anyone remember that?
Yeah, I do. And I was thinking about that when I was driving today, is that in our period, in the 80s in general, since there was a lot more money and funding and all of that, we spent at least 40 hours working on it. I know we worked directly with the original cast members from the Tango Apasionado, Tino Paul, Luis Fuentes, and I'm forgetting the third guy's name, I'm sorry, but we spent a lot of time with them, seeing things. Also, Graciela was revamping it from the Broadway show to this. So I know that we generally, when we were creating works at that time, were generally 40 hours. So it was a little different than it is now. So it was weeks. We spent 3 weeks, or usually 3 weeks on a new work, normal, yeah.
But that also was just the beginning till we learn it. But then the coaching, the Albertina, all the way to the performance, that's a lot of other work that we did, you know.
But
I'm gonna come back to that. Go ahead, Justine.
But I'm trying to remember, Nancy, you were remembering the gentleman that came in as well with at the time to help choreograph it. John Minio.
John Minio.
He passed
Yeah.
away. God rest his soul. Yes. So that was tragic. He was really, really wonderful person to work with.
A lot of time. Yeah, and I think, like, you know, what was the beautiful thing again, I think, was the chemistry. Kathy, I remember, like, at the very last note, I was exiting, and I was definitely not wanted in her brothel. I know what she was thinking every single time, and we would look at each other, and we had these like understandings and nuances. Like, as I exited, I was like, okay, I'm leaving your place, and you were like, come back, okay, you don't belong here. And, you know, like with Jose or Pedro or with each of your characters, I felt like we got to the place, we got to the place where our characters became very complex. Because we performed it so long and so often. And I think that was something very beautiful, that we were coached in. Again, you're right. Like, I want to acknowledge Tina too, because Tina, one time she took us into a dark room, and don't take it the wrong way. It was a wonderful moment. I'll never forget it. And she said, and I was very young, and she wanted me to understand the first touch of that, where like you touch someone, like, you know, you want to be with someone and you're not with them, and then all of a sudden your hands slowly touch, and then there's like electricity going through you. And she took us into the downstairs studio alone, and she wanted us to do it in the dark, so we didn't know when we were going to touch, and she wanted us to know what that might feel like when you're not ready for that electricity of really touching a person. Maybe you're in a movie theater or wherever you are, that first touch happens. And she also made me feel like, she was like, you know, making me touch the texture of the wooden floor, and to say, when you touch someone, don't think that every texture is the same. And, you know, I was young, and I'll never forget that, because I always kept that in the back of my head. And you know, she is in a room telling me this, but then when I went back, I was able to really act on what did she really mean by that, and how can I really like take time to make that teeny little sensational touch subtle, but also make it real. And when did I ever feel that was real? And how does that relate to this? And how does that transcend on stage? If you do real, then what is it when you're in the theater? So I think we all had to do a lot of investigation, and that's the beauty, you know?
I think that's the beauty of Ballet Hispánico. Go ahead, Kathy. You're muted.
Am I now? No.
Now
you're talking about making it real, and that was the most incredible thing between Tina and Graciela. It was so real that today I remember looks between us, and not just remember, but I feel them. Like when Nancy, you said that last look when you were leaving between the two of us, I can still feel that look. And there were so many points in the ballet that you can just still be there today, because the process was so real and so organic and truly thorough between the choreographer and the director. It was so thorough that it wasn't that we were playing a role. We were those people. We felt those lives. We felt those moments. Whereas when you're playing something, you don't, you know?
it's an interesting thing because we had a question about what would happen if we reset it now, and I'm just gonna be a little bit provocative, because some of you still work in dance and work with this generation. To try to get this generation now to get to that place is it's a different set of challenges and opportunities, but it's a different set of challenges. Anybody want to comment to that comment?
I mean, I can only talk about when I came back to do it, that they were wonderful. I mean, the company really got to it, but it was difficult, and I guess they suffered, Graciela and Tina suffered the same with us because we were young dancers, to get them to understand, like, okay, you're not dancing this step. You're coming from, you might be hawking fish all day long. You might be smelly, have thrown on some perfume, whatever, wiped yourself up, and now you've been working all day and you're tired and it's heavy, you know, from the way that people communicate today too is very different. So I think that as much investigation as we were given, they would need to be given as well.
Yeah, I like to say something about that. I agree with you, Kathy. I work with a lot of students that I also try to do things theatrical because something that I learned at Ballet Hispánico. And I think as much as we receive, like you said, we have to give them. There is an understanding, but you have to be super detailed. And also depending who you're working with that is allowing this to happen. You know, like even those exercises that Tina asks us to do all the time. It was about, I remember we have rehearsals for technique, but we have rehearsals for artistic rehearsals, which, you know, which company does those things anymore? You know, sometimes it will take us one-on-one and who you are and what do you feel and why is this? And that really made us, all of us, an artist. So we have all this information that we can pass on to the new generations. And it's possible, but you need to know how to do it because it's a different generation anyway. It's definitely different, but it's possible.
Do you want to add something?
Yeah, because going back to Tina, like Nancy mentioned, you don't have to remember, but Tina would always come on the sideline, and she was really close with Graciela as well, and they communicated so well together. And Tina would come along to the side, and she'd give you a little. If Graciela was working with someone else, Tina would come over and she'd give you a little something,
Sure.
You know, a little,
Or a lot of something.
do it like this, you know. And you know, Tina, it's like the vibrancy of her personality,
Yes.
and sort of added so much to the dimensions and the depth of the work that Graciela was giving us. And Graciela was dealing with a lot. And she did spend a lot of time with Nancy and you guys with the trio. So Tina would take all of the other company members to different areas and pull out more for them, you know, and dig deeper into the lesbian relationships or the whatever it was. She was so good at that, you know? It was like, mwah! And
Yeah.
Graciela like, poof, go do it, you know?
Right. I tell you that I think the company that is here now at Ballet Hispánico would kill this.
Oh my God, yeah.
They would,
That's
Oh
so
my
good.
God.
because we have moved to a point that they
You know,
are.
Eddie,
But I was
Yeah,
talking
oh,
in
sorry.
general about generation. But this company, absolutely, eyes closed.
yeah,
Do it.
like when we
I know, right?
got to work
Yes.
with some of her company members when we did it for Graciela's lifetime. She was wonderful performing the work. But the one thing I would say that a few things about this particular generation, and I would say that they are a result of general speed and economics and all the elements that are going on right now that make this time not the time we danced in. Like, for example, there is a lot less money. Okay, going out, we had the luxury of time. We didn't have that stress that today everything time is money and time is money. You know, it's very different. You can't get to that level of character in such a short period of time. Even if you are a genius. The other thing is I feel like we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, we didn't have all this. We were so invested in the dance, and I think that technology plays a large role in young people today getting, being done with something quicker. And that's not a generalization, because of course there are certainly young people that do investigate and stay a long time with a company, and they do roles for a very long period of time. But I do believe that technology has affected generations of individuals in a sense that everything has to be quick and over. And I think that, to become a great artist, sometimes you could perform a work thousands and thousands of times. And we see people that we admire that have done just that. And so these are some things that I'm concerned, and I'm not in any way judging anyone. I'm saying it's a result of the culture therein, where we didn't have these phones distracting us. We didn't have computers distracting us. We didn't have social media, that we constantly had to take a picture of what we're doing instead of being present in what we're doing. And I do think that that is a concern of mine in general. So rather than just being in the moment and us doing the work, we are presenting ourselves in social media or whatever and distracted, so that's just my thought. And I feel distracted too by social media. So this is,
I posed the question, Nancy, because it is such a different time. So priorities are different, and the way things are being, the speed of the way things are doing or done really needs a different kind of attention. So I have a question here. What are you four dancers doing now, and where do you live? Jose?
Well, thank God I'm still involved in dance. I couldn't become something else because it was too many years doing dance. So I work at a college in Southern California, and I do choreograph, and some years back, I started a nonprofit too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, under Jose Costas Contemporary Ballet. So little by little, we've been doing stuff out here. So yes, still involved in dance, teach at a college level, and choreographing. So loving it.
Justine?
Unmute. Okay. So yes, I still live in New York City. I have a small business, although this time right now we're not in business technically. It's a Pilates studio. I'm very involved with the public education. I've got two, teenage children, very late in life, and I'm very excited about that. But, I'm, always moving forward. So I'm working a lot with the public school system and being very, very advocate for what's going on in that in terms of education with this as well. So yeah, that's what I do.
Nancy?
yeah, well, I've been doing the dance a good 50 years now, and I'm still in it. And so, after Ballet Hispánico, I work all over New York, every college and ALE, 21 years and so forth. I took on this position as the artistic director of a small one-day-a-week program in New Jersey Dance Theater Ensemble, and now I've been there 26 years. We have a beautiful art center. My interest at this point in my life is to give back. I mean, somebody inspired me, many people inspired me. I was so grateful to do the thing I love. So my interest is the development and the training programs for dancers that can really be successful in the future, and creating, programs that have a melange of techniques, and also forecasting what the future is in dance in a sense, and provide that for dancers, because it's very challenging for people to get in the best colleges and become a successful dancer at this point. So they really need to be on point. And as long as I could keep being inspired, and if this darn coronavirus and hurricanes and all this stuff would slow down, I think we could just get back to doing what we love.
Right. Kathy, we're going to need you to put that overhead light on to see that beautiful face. What's going on?
I got a candle.
She's working that Benz. Okay, there you go, girl.
Yeah, she got the red car.
We can't hear you. It's a theme.
Unfortunately, we had the hurricane today, so I am without power.
Oh no!
So
Yes.
yes, I know. I'm like, so I'm trying. Here's my lighting. I'm trying to find internet and light as it gets dark here. So I'm in the car now. So I'm giving back. I am blessed to actually be on the board of Ballet Hispánico, so I get to still be involved with the company and help nurture and bring forward this new brilliant company as we go into this future, which I think this company is incredibly powerful and has so much to say and is poised to carry the arts forward in a very tenuous time for arts. So that is my involvement in dance. Work-wise, I train Pilates instructors worldwide, and I have a facility in New Jersey and in Sarasota.
And you're a diva, just to
Yeah, she's a diva.
She really
Diva
is.
Pilates.
Look her up.
Hey, tell us about you. Tell us about you.
What? Eduardo, let's hear about you.
I want you to tell us about you.
Oh, I'm just here at Ballet Hispánico, which was interesting that we're here, that I'm here. I had a Luna Negra dance theater company, and then I came and took the reins from Tina, and it's been a really wonderful journey. But I just wanted to say, from each and every one of you, I learned so much when I first came into the company. It was so great, and dancing with you will forever be a treat. I mean, I have so many memories of each of you. Kathy, when we were partners for Cada, Noche, Tango. I mean, and we also developed a relationship. But Miss Justine, she also knew how to wheel and deal a knife and make me kill people for ballet, and it was always glorious to watch her perform. Glorious. And Nancy and Jose as well. I mean, I can go down the roles. So I am so honored that you came on to talk, because your legacy, what we talked about, inspiration and how we find inspiration, that legacy lives on because of Tina, and it lives on today. So I want to thank you for joining me tonight. It was
Thank you for having us.
Wish we were in person, because we'd continue to have fun. And you know it.
I know you have to end this, but we would all just carry on for another hour. I mean,
Hey, but I want to add something.
Go ahead.
I want to say, Eduardo, you are doing an amazing job with Ballet Hispánico. I am so happy that you are doing the work, because the company will continue because of what you're doing. And I remember Tina always would say, you don't want to be in a company that disappears, and then how are you going to talk to people about your company? And well, this company is continuing because of your work. So I just want to say thank you, because I am so proud that you are the director and continue the work that Tina started. And
we're all proud of you, Eduardo.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate it. Again, you know, it's that generation that we grew up in. So we're going to do this again. And I'll tell you when about it, and I'll tell the audience. We'll be back with alumni. We're going to have a whole series of talks with the alumni during Hispanic Heritage Month. Watch out for it. It's going to be fun. We're going to do decades, each of the decades. So you'll be back on. I love you guys.
Love you too. Adios.
Big hugs to everybody.
Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos.
Yo te Buenos Aires,
Good to see you.
Performances for young people. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.